Why do you want to fight?
Because I can't sing or dance.
A small-time boxer waiting for a shot at the big time, but to get to the big time he has to overcome all of the stuff keeping him in the small time. Can the small time guy grasp his chance at the big time, or will he screw it up and remain small time?
If it's a contender, he's a climber. Do you know what you are? What? A tomato.
Rocky.
Apollo Creed meets the Italian Stallion. Sounds like a damn monster movie.
Rocky was a 1976 drama about a down-on-his-luck boxer who's lifted from obscurity. The thing is, the movie's plot happens to mirror the struggle of the film star and writer to establish himself as a player in movies. Rocky ended up a huge hit and made its lead actor a star, whose name people would never forget. And that name is... damn, you know, that little guy who mumbles, what's his name? Truman Capote. No, fuck it, I've lost it. Anyway, he was in that movie with Estelle Getty. Anyway, Rocky was directed by John g.avildsen and starred, as well as Talia Shire, Burt Young and Carl Weathers. Oh man, this is killing me. I saw this film earlier and was inspired to take up boxing down the gym. I don't remember how that went, but I guess I won. It's all a bit hazy. Anyway, on to the review.
Balboa, you get winner share, $65, less $15 locker and corner man, $5 shower and towel, and 7% tax.
Rocky Balboa is a wannabe pro boxer in Philadelphia. He's been stuck on the lower rungs of the boxing circuit, winning some fights and losing others. He's getting by just. His day job is working as a debt collector for a local loan shark, where he's a hired goon who's really reluctant to break the fingers of the people owing money. In the eyes of his employer, that makes Rocky only slightly more effective as a thumbbreaker than a bag of coleslaw.
Did you get the license number?
Of what?
The truck that run over your face.
Rocky wants to be a contender, to get a shot at fights higher up the chain, naturally. But that's the hard part. Firstly, Mickey, the trainer at Rocky's local gym, won't give him the time of day, but he's quick with a character reference.
Because you had the talent to become a good fighter, and instead of that, you became a leg breaker.
Rocky is also somewhat of an amateur social worker, trying to keep the local kids on the straight and narrow, where he freely gives out advice.
Screw you, creepo!
Rocky is inarticulate, he mumbles, he's sometimes a little much to deal with. He's also reasonably confident in his abilities as a boxer and generally likes to be thought of as a good person. Just so long as you ignore his day job. You know, that whole thing where he's supposed to break people's thumbs if they don't repay a loan. Just ignore that bit. For a movie about a boxer, there's not all that much actual boxing, just a lot of talking about boxing. But it's a sports drama rather than a post-fight podcast where three half-cut knuckleheads recount statistics.
I want to know how come.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I want to know how come.
You want to know?
I want to know how!
Rocky is also sweet on a young woman working in a local pet store, Adrian. She's painfully shy and finds it hard to respond to Rocky's attempts to chat her up.
How you feeling this morning, huh? Full of life?
Fine.
She lives with her brother Paulie, who's also Rocky's best friend. Now, if you thought Rocky was inarticulate, Paulie is even much more unarticulatory in combinating words into coherentating sentences.
No.
Well, you caught me in a bad mood.
You're always in a bad mood.
He's not quite a lovable schlub, but a schlub who tries to get his sister to go on a date with Rocky, provided that there's no funny stuff or hanky-panky. I mean, no one specified a fun date. An invitation for Rocky to spend Thanksgiving with the siblings ends first in disaster, with the turkey being seasoned by whatever was on the ground outside, but then less disaster as Adrian and Rocky do go on a date together. Okay, so it's 10 minutes at a closed skating rink, but later on, the pair do end up on a fun date. Just don't broadcast it to Paulie.
Yo, Paulie, your sister's with me. I'll call you back later.
Too late. Adrian will find a way to overcome her low self-esteem to accept Rocky into her life, among other things. Meanwhile, the heavyweight world champion of boxing, Apollo Creed, is dealing with the planned fight collapsing just weeks before it was due to be fought. With no one available to fight, Apollo is in a bind since he's already poured so much into the planned fight in Philadelphia to celebrate America's upcoming bicentennial. He can't cancel without incurring a bullshit restocking fee.
It's very smart.
Rather than scrapping the fight, Apollo Creed hits upon the idea of finding some rando in the Funkin' Wagnall's big book of every boxer and likes the idea of one name he saw, a fighter with the nickname the Italian Stallion. One Rocky Balboa. Rocky just thinks he's being asked to spar with the champ, but instead he gets the shot he's always wanted, a chance to supersize his boxing career. $150,000 just to have, as far as everyone else is concerned, the ever-living shit beaten out of him in public by the heavyweight champ. Rocky suddenly finds himself with more friends. Paulie wants a taste and is mightily pissed at Rocky, at his sister, at the world, at this thing and at that thing. Mickey shows up offering to train Rocky.
I want to give you this knowledge. I want to take care of you. I want to make sure that all the shit that happened to me doesn't happen to you.
But Rocky has a very long memory of all the slights given to him by Mickey in the past. In the end, though, Rocky realizes he needs help. With just weeks to go, Rocky begins training hard, starting the day in the middle of the night with the world's worst omelette. Rocky starts his training regimen where he runs a lot, and then after listening to Paulie's belly aching, demonstrates why, as a potential future brother-in-law, Paulie should learn to chill. Also, if you want some pre-tenderized meat, Paulie can hook you up.
That's right, you didn't say nothing! Nothing at all!
The film's most iconic scene shows Rocky hitting his stride while training, set to the strains of the movie's theme tune, Gonna Fly Now. And it ends with Rocky bounding up the stairs of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. It's a scene so iconic that that area is now known as the Rocky Steps. As fight day approaches, Rocky knows he's not expected to do all that well. Creed is at the top of his game, but also cocky. At the fight, Rocky walks out, while Creed arrives putting on a show. The fight itself begins, and rather than Rocky hitting the canvas in a few rounds, it goes on and on. Rocky is a glutton for punishment, like sitcom fans binging the series Wings. The fight goes on and on, with both pugilists knocked down at various points. Contrary to expectations, the fight goes the distance.
Ain't gonna be no rematch.
Don't want one.
But at this stage, they haven't read the script to any sequels. Creed wins the fight by a split decision, but Rocky doesn't seem to care. The crowd loves him, and he's got Adrian. Rocky was a small film that came out of nowhere with an unknown in the lead and went on to become a phenomenon. Released in 1976, it went on to become the highest grossing movie of the year, where it earned more than many films also regarded as classics. A Star is Born, The Omen, All the President's Men, Midway, Marathon Man, Taxi Driver, Carrie, Logan's Run, King Kong, and Network. Many of those films do end on a down note. But Rocky's end is inspiring, heralding a shift away from movies about anti-heroes. And it took this guy, whose name still escapes me, so let's just check the credits. Oh, that guy, I like him. Sylvester Stallone. Oh, yeah, the dude from Rhinestone and Judge Dredd.
I knew you'd say that.
Wow, color me shocked. I did not realize he had anything to do with Rocky and the resulting sequels and spin-offs, all of which number close to 10.
All I wanted to do out of fight was prove I was no bum, that I had the stuff to make a good pro, you know?
And in less concussed times, Rocky started with a struggling actor. Sylvester Stallone had, thanks to an accident during his birth, ended up with damaged facial muscles on one side, which made him sound like he was either drunk, concussed, stupid, or a combination of all three that we'll call druncuspid.
I wouldn't take no cheap shots either. I'd really be a good sparring partner, you know?
He took whatever acting work he could get, whether it was in off Broadway plays or as a movie extra, leading to small roles in movies where he was often playing some sort of heavy. He'd occasionally get a bigger part, but he often felt he was pigeonholed. Stallone had an ambition to have a big role in a big film. Also, he had taught himself how to write screenplays. Writing screenplays doesn't seem so hard. I mean, look, any moron can write screenplays. Let me demonstrate. Stallone had one of the lead roles in the low-budget film Lords of Flatbush, and eventually had a meeting with film producers in Los Angeles about any potential roles, but on his way out the door, he asked them if they would read a script of his. Stallone wrote the first draft of Rocky in a few days, taking his own desire to break out of the small roles he was offered and channeling it into a script about a boxer.
I think you're a bum.
Well, I'm at least half a bum, you know?
The script at one point nearly became a television movie, but Stallone was fearful a TV version would be butchered. Rocky would instead be a feature made on a pretty modest budget of a bit under $900,000. John g.avildsen had directed a few films before Rocky, where in the 70s he was famously fired as director of both Serpico and Saturday Night Fever. But obviously he'd have better luck with movies beginning with the letter R. He'd also later direct 3 Karate Kid movies as well as a 5th Rocky film, but that's skipping ahead.
Do other fighters pound raw meat?
No, I think I invented it.
When the film was greenlit, the one thing that was not wanted, Stallone as the star.
I run a business here, not a goddamn soup kitchen.
To Hollywood at this point, he was less the Italian stallion and more the unknown Stallone. A more bankable name was sought, but in the end, Stallone was determined that he would star in the film that he wrote. Getting Rocky made with the tightest of budgets, well, I'm not going to say the word Rocky, it would be a challenge on the level of training an alpaca as a touch typist. I mean, it's possible with a little imagination, some perseverance, and the need to type very, very simple documents. Shooting locations in Philadelphia was potentially a deal breaker, but Avildsen and Stallone were adamant that the city had the right texture. Rocky is a gritty looking film, yet a curiously pretty one. It was as low budget as you could get for a major motion picture at the time, with the cast and crew being sustained by an all-pizza diet. Pinch me. One of that crew was Lloyd Kaufman, here making a cameo, and he would later go on to co-found Troma Entertainment. Rocky was a movie known for being one of the earliest users of a Steadicam in film, which is a device that allows you to strap a cine camera to a camera operator and, through an intricate array of counterbalancing weights, keeps the image from rocking, as was often the case with handheld camera work. The device's inventor Garrett Brown operated the Steadicam in Rocky, where it was mainly used for the film's climactic fight. Stallone choreographed the fight ahead of time so that he and Weathers could recreate the scene in very long takes, again and again.
Your hair hurts, your eyes hurt, your face is all busted up, your hands are swollen, you know.
Sylvester Stallone in real life is far more articulate than Rocky, but he turned in such a great performance of a lovable thug where the whole debt collector's aspect was toned down slightly so that Rocky wasn't so unlikable.
But I'm a southpaw, and nobody wants to fight no southpaw, you know what I mean?
Talia Shire had previously appeared in her brother Francis Ford Coppola's Godfather films. Burt Young had a long career playing intense and slightly scary schlubs. Burgess Meredith was a genuine star, but more importantly, he played the Penguin in Batman. Mickey was one bad-tempered grump, but one who was not too proud to offer his services to train Rocky. All three actors were nominated for Oscars for their fantastic performances in Rocky. Carl Weathers had a career in pro football but had wanted to get more into acting. He was also the last major role cast in the film. The film Rocky succeeds in large part because it was so perfectly cast. It's almost impossible to imagine anyone else playing these roles.
Now that's the way I see it. And that's the way it's gonna be.
One of the film's most famous elements was the music by Bill Conti, in particular the theme tune, Gonna Fly Now, which has some lyrics, but it's a tune that's often thought of as an instrumental, and you're not really gonna mistake it for anything else. When you hear Gonna Fly Now, it's gonna get your blood pumping and make you want to punch the nearest horse. Disclaimer, if you are at all likely or inclined to punch a horse, look, just please keep away from the stables, the track, and indeed equestrian events in general. To reiterate, do not punch a horse. Gonna Fly Now became a hit in its own right and is perhaps the only song of the last 50 years to get brass band musicians laid.
Is that a face you can trust or what? Huh? Is it? You gotta stick this face on a stamp. What do you think?
Rocky was a big success with multiple nominations at the Academy Awards, among others. It would win Oscars for Best Editing, Best Director for Avildsen, and Best Picture. While Stallone would go home empty-handed despite nominations for Best Screenplay and Best Actor, he was now a major star. But he'd soon find out that people would really only see him as Rocky and weren't too interested in seeing him in anything else.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
Stallone would bring the character back for a sequel in 1979 where he would star, write and direct Rocky II, which would pick up the story and funnily enough was also a huge hit. So then we'd get Rocky III, Rocky IV, Rocky V, and then years later Rocky Balboa, and then the spin-off series Creed following the career of Apollo Creed's son. Stallone would try to branch out with different types of roles.
Good luck.
Don't leave town.
But for a long time, it was hard for people to accept him as anything other than a mumbling boxer. And then he played a mumbling Vietnam vet, John Rambo, in the film First Blood, and eventually Rambo would become as much a defining character of the 80s as Rocky had been in the 70s.
You're gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder.
Rocky is a great drama that ends in a boxing match, a film about an underdog getting a shot at the big time. It's got good performances from a cast and solid direction, capped by a fantastic boxing match at the end, which leaves us with a movie that would launch a franchise that would morph into really something quite different from this small-scale film. Rocky could have been a contender, and it was. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.
I invented that about 8 years ago when I was eating dinner.